All right, we're going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. It is 12 o'clock noon, Monday, February 25th. We do have a quorum with all members of the EDC board being present with the exception of Mr. Mike Farias. Joey, was the meeting posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act?
Yes, sir, Mr. President. Notice was posted in accordance to the Texas Open Meetings Act on the 22nd day of February 2019 at 11 a.m.
Thank you, sir. We'll jump right into it. Number 3, consider approval of Board of Directors minutes for the January 22nd, 2019 board meeting.
Motion to approve.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Those opposed, same sign.
I abstain since I was not here at that meeting.
That motion passes with 3-0 vote, and Mr. Enriquez abstained. Number 4, consideration and approval of a resolution relating to establishing the corporation's intention to reimburse itself for the prior lawful expenditure of funds from the proceeds of one or more series of tax-exempt obligations to be issued by the Edinburgh Economic Development Corporation in an aggregate amount not to exceed $12,500,000 for authorized purposes, authorizing matters incident and related thereto, and providing an effective date. Joey?
Mr. President, members of the board, if you recall last meeting, we had the preliminary financing plan for the proposed tax-exempt bonds to be issued by the EDC for the El Tule Recreation Center, Resource Center, and the North Park. I wanted to, also had that item for the reimbursement resolution that was not acted upon. So we brought it back this month, and we have Mr. Arnold Cantu with Norton Rose and Fulbright and Mr. Chris Vela with Hilltop Securities to give you all a presentation on what our next steps are and scheduling for these proposed tax-exempt bonds.
Mr. President, board members, thank you. For the record, my name is Arnold Cantu. I'm an attorney with Norton Rose Fulbright, serving as bond counsel to the EDC. Over the past several months, we've worked closely with Mr. Trevino, with Mr. Vela and Ms. Nelda Ramirez, and with Mr. Chris Vela toward the financing of these projects. What you have before you today is a reimbursement resolution which, in compliance with Treasury regulations, memorializes your intent to reimburse yourself for costs made prior to the issuance of the bonds once you sell the bonds and receive bond proceeds. Essentially what we're doing is taking a 60-day look back for any project costs that are spent from EDC funds or potentially city funds and saving and memorializing those expenses so that once we issue bonds, we can repay ourselves from those bond proceeds within 30 days thereof.
Any questions for?
So was the total always 12 and a half? I thought it was.
It was at 11.5. Can you go over the changes and the preliminary, and then our schedule also?
Sure, of
we have the
course.
final one probably coming up at a special meeting coming up in the next couple weeks.
Of course. The amount that you see on that reimbursement resolution provides about 10% buffer, which is what our tax attorneys recommend to ensure that we are not issuing an amount larger than what we have on paper, right? So what we try to do and what we need to do with Treasury regulations is express what we intend to do, which is reimburse ourselves, and where we intend to reimburse ourselves from, and the amount thereof. Our tax attorneys like to put a 10% addition to the amount we're issuing in case project scopes change or we, for some reason, need to sell at a premium or have a par amount larger than what we expect at the moment. That 12.5 figure is not an obligation to issue that much. It's not authorizing expenditures in that amount. It's just authorizing you to reimburse yourselves up to the maximum amount of bonds that you issue. Again, it's just a safety precaution that we're putting in here to make sure that our reimbursement resolution stays valid through the term of the bond issuance.
But don't we pay a fee based on that amount? Isn't the fee isn't all y'all's fees based on what, the 12.5 or whatever we're going out for?
Well, my fee as bond counsel was set at a flat fee, whatever the bond issuance was. That was my pledge to you when I first came on. Now, remember that the 12
But what about all the other fees?
The underwriter's expense would be based as a spread, a percentage of the par amount issued. But keep in mind that this 12.5 number is not the amount that that the EDC intends to issue. What we're doing is just giving ourselves a bigger window in case we have to.
Okay, so there's no fee that's gonna be based off of this 12.5, is what I'm understanding from you?
That's correct.
Okay.
The fee for the underwriters, at least, will be based off of the amount that's actually issued.
Okay.
And we have the final financing plan that the sources and uses will be stated on that final plan that will be presented to you with all the fees involved. Am I
That-
correct, Mr.?
Because for,
That's correct.
because for the record, we're gonna try to not use as much as possible. We're gonna try to
Yes.
maximize our funds, and we've been using that approach. Just want everybody to know, since we're talking about these numbers, but when that plan does come, Joey, that Mr. Trevino, it'll be there, but that is what we're gonna try to do, is use minimum possible, get as much as we can done.
I understand, and like I said, the figure that you see in this resolution is simply adds a little bit of a buffer, right? So it's just to protect the city, the EDC as necessary. And as far as the calendar, I can go over that a little bit. You know, today will be the reimbursement resolution. I've been working with Mr. Trevino and Ms. Ramirez and Chris Vela and Andre at Hilltop Securities, preparing a preliminary official statement that will be distributed to underwriters or potential purchasers to market these bonds. And that should be posted on April 3rd. Around the week of March 18th, the Underwriters Council will have a conference call with Mr. Trevino and Ms. Ramirez to go over certain SEC requirements. We plan on selling these bonds on April 16th. That'll be a special meeting for the EDC, back-to-back with the City Council meeting. By law, the City Council is required to approve the final sale of the bonds that the EDC issues. So it'll be a back-to-back issuance where we'll authorize the bond resolution and any interlocal agreements with the city for the use of the projects or the land on which we build these projects. And after that, I'll take the documents that the board and the city executes at those meetings and shepherd them through the Attorney General's review process. That typically takes 3 weeks. We'll receive preliminary approval 5 days before closing, and we anticipate a closing on May 9th. So that means that funds will be transferred from the underwriter in exchange for the bonds to the account of the EDC.
Mr. Chair, I have a question.
You have the floor, sir.
Mr. Cantu, you know, we've been asking that some of the projects be cut back. We've been very definitive that each project being presented to us through the 3 workshops that we had. Number 1, we have some gymnasiums that we're short. Number 2, we have a resource center that we're going to be using. Number 3, a park, which we're trying to downsize one, a Northside Park, and then do a Capable Kids partnership. On these projects, we're asking that they be cut 30% of that cost. You're saying that we're just saying that this may go to $12,500, but I think the price we were looking at total was about $7 to $8 million for the projects. If we approve this, does that give us the capability to lower that to 7 or 8 million if that's all we're going to need?
Absolutely. What my concern is, and based off the advice of certain tax counsel in our firm, what we don't want to do is issue bonds, is have a number on this resolution that ends up being lower than the amount of bonds that we issue, because that may have an impact on whether or not that reimbursement resolution is valid. And so what we need to do is protect the validity of the reimbursement resolution through the sale of the bonds. that 12.5 number is not an obligation. You can go lower, right? So if through, conversations with Mr. Trevino and Ms. Ramirez, you decide that the scope of projects should be smaller, that's within your discretion. As long as those projects are authorized under the statutes, which, I can help with, it's perfectly acceptable.
The next question I have for you, Mr. Cantu, will there be an increase in the city tax rate at all by doing this?
These bonds are secured by sales tax revenues. The financial team has made sure that there's sufficient coverage to secure these bonds through sales tax and sales tax alone, so there should not be, and there will not be any increase in ad valorem taxes. Our sales tax in the city is set. I mean, there's no raising that.
Any other questions or comments, gentlemen? Can I entertain a motion?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Do have a motion and a second to approve. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Those opposed, same sign. That motion passes 5-0. Thank you, Mr. Cantu. Number 5, discuss and consider authorizing the executive director to enter into an interlocal agreement with the City of Edinburgh regarding the North Park project at Lot 1, Boys and Girls Club subdivision, Hidalgo County, Texas. Go ahead, Joe.
Mr. President, members of the board, in anticipation of this new projects that you all just approved the resolution for, we've discussed and looked at starting the process a little bit faster on designing the new park at the Boys and Girls Club property we have off the North Expressway 281, and partnering with the city to help us with the amount about $350,000, and this interlocal agreement would approve that, and I think we'll take it to the council tomorrow for the council's approval, for us to start the project immediately. And then once I think we had 180 days to pay that back, and then pay the city back 180 days from when we get it. But we can start the project immediately and wait for the funds that come in May 9th.
Questions or comments, gentlemen?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
So, this is a $1.8 million project?
The initial estimates came from the engineering SDI were 1.8 million, but we're looking at maybe $900,000, not exceeding over $900,000 on building this new park.
Okay. So, what I would like to know is, was this, I know that the city approved a park plan. Was this reviewed, the park plan, was that reviewed for this recommendation?
As far as the park plan is concerned, we talked to the Parks Director, Mr. Garza. Mr. Garza and City Manager were also involved in the discussions, and the information that was given to me was that this was some needed fields that were being proposed to be built on these fields. As far that was all indicated to me.
Okay. Well, I'm going to make a comment to my fellow colleagues here that, I don't think we should rush, again, this is my opinion, that we should rush into approving this. I think we should wait for that parks plan to come. We approved almost $30,000 for the park plan. I would really like to see what that develops and see if this is a viable option for us. Because like I said at our last meeting, this is prime property off the expressway. And I would love to see it being developed so we can have some tax revenue coming from it. So I would just, ask that you guys consider waiting I'm not saying that it's not a good idea. I just think that we need to really take a pause and figure out what the bigger picture is gonna be. So that's my comment. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a comment.
Go ahead.
Mr. Chair, it has been over 15 years since we built a park in the city of Edinburgh. The last partnership that we did was with a school district. The school district really controls a lot of what goes on at that park. It's really not a public park during business hours. There are people such as myself that used to work shift work. They want to go for a jog, whether that's 10 o'clock in the morning, whether they want to do it at 6 o'clock in the morning. And we need accessibility to parks. There's a lot of subdivisions going on in this area. If you guys drive out to Chapin, mile 17 and a half, Rogers Road, there's many, many subdivisions going up in this area. When I ran for mayor, I promised to build parks. I want to hold that promise. I know that there's other parks that we need, and I know that there's 2 other parks that I'm committed to doing, one of those being the Special Needs Park, the second one being at the Ebony Golf Course. So I think I drove around for land. I asked questions on property. There were outrageous amounts that they were trying to sell properties for, just to the fact where even if we spend the 1.8 million, which I'm against spending the entire 1.8 million on this park, I think it should be done about half that price. Right now, it's so competitive. I know that construction costs are down, materials are up, but as far as the labor, now's the time to make that move. So I just want to be able to have a public park so that people can go, they can walk, they can take their kids to the playground, they can play basketball, they can have baseball. We did get a presentation from our Parks and Rec Director, Mr. Javi Garza. He said we were short 9 baseball fields. This is going to make up 2 of the 9. I think it's something that we need. I always have a calendar on how much time I have left on my term. I have 32 months. So I have 32 months left on my term to produce a park. I'm not saying that this is our final park, but I'm saying this is something that I think is good for the community. We own the land. Secondly, I've taken people out to that property to try to sell the property. I know that the previous executive director that was here also tried to sell the property. Mr. Valderas has been out there multiple times trying to sell the property. I even gave an incentive of cutting out a parcel and trying to get some sales tax there. And the answers were no from people because there's an easement problem there and people don't want to give up 100 feet off of the frontage. So I think the only thing we can do there is build a park. So I think it's something that we need to move on. And we need to show that we're producing for the citizens of Edinburgh. And as long as there's not a tax increase and we're not charging people additional taxes, I think this is good because I think that's what alarms people the most. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Anything else, gentlemen? I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve?
Second.
I do have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Those opposed, same sign. That motion passes 4-1. Moving on to item number 6, discuss and consider approval of selection of SDI Engineering from the EEDC pool of engineers for engineering services and negotiate a contract regarding the North Park project. Joe?
Mr. President, attached is the list of engineering who have submitted our qualifications in response to the request of our EDC in the past. SDI has been working on the concepts for this North Park. I just want to be able to start a conversation on negotiating a contract with SDI based on this new park.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a comment.
Go ahead, sir.
Mr. Posadas is committing to doing the work for the Special Needs Park pro bono. He is committed to that secondary park and volunteering his time and the work. I ask on this one that you do negotiate with him to a reasonable price. Joey, I know he's doing other work for us. He used to be the previous city engineer, so he does know the in and outs of what needs to be done. But I'm going to ask that on the price, that you negotiate with him hard.
Yes, sir.
And that he's held accountable. And also, I do appreciate Mr. Posadas really doing that secondary location pro bono. That's going to mean a lot to us. I know you've been dealing with Mike Farias and the Capable Kids Foundation. So that's something that I'd like the board to take into consideration.
So,
Go ahead.
I got a question, Chair. So you're saying that the whole Capable Kids Park is gonna be pro bono, all the fees? The design, the entire design? Is that what I'm understanding, Mayor?
That's what he committed to.
Okay, so,
Not this park, this isn't the Capable Kids Park.
no, I know, the Capable
Yeah.
Kids Park, the entire
Yes, sir.
design.
Yeah, last summer,
From start of the design to the finish of the design.
last summer, Mr. Farias and the Capable Kids are,
You want to state your name, sir?
I'm sorry, Isael Posadas with SDI Engineering. Last summer, actually, I met with the Capable Kids Foundation through the efforts by Mr. Farias. I did volunteer. They hadn't had a layout, they hadn't had any assistance, and just a concept. So what I did is volunteer to assist them in any way I could. I've done layouts, I've done cost estimates, I've continued to support their effort. I think it's a great cause, and so going to continue to do that on the Capable Kids.
So is this just for the actual?
Design, just my
No,
stuff.
No, but the design of the Capable Kids equipment, where they're gonna be at, or is this the whole concept of the park?
No,
Which
just the-
includes any fields, any soccer fields, any picnic tables, any basketball courts? Or is this just strictly the footprint of where the Capable Kids equipment's gonna sit?
Unless it changes tremendously, yes.
Because it's gonna be a big endeavor, and I don't want somebody coming back saying that, oh, well, I'm gonna charge another $100,000 of fees because of this. So let's be clear, since it's out here in the open, let's be clear, and everybody's saying what they're gonna be doing. Let's be clear on what
Well, I
the
don't-
actual services, the scope of services are gonna entail.
Well, for the EDC, I don't work for the EDC with regard to Capable Kids, so I don't know that I can say and commit something to the EDC on Capable Kids. That's a deal I have directly with Capable Kids. Are you asking me to tell the EDC?
Well, I'm just going by what the mayor's saying.
Yep,
The-
that will be outside of this venue. Whatever is decided there will be between
Okay,
me
so then,
and
so this,
Capable Kids.
okay, so then the mayor, do you realize what he's saying?
He's helping the Capable Kids pro bono, is that
Correct.
correct?
Correct.
Okay, which has nothing to do with the city
No, it
and the
has.
EDC,
Oh, yeah, and it does. Oh, yes, it does.
okay? Well, because he's saying it doesn't. So I just want to make it clear. I
If,
mean,
if you're asking me to, I really don't understand what you're getting at or what you want me to commit publicly, but I have already publicly, privately committed to helping the Capable Kids and the components related to Capable Kids. Now, if all of a sudden the Capable Kids turns into a big sports complex that has nothing to do with Capable Kids, but it's attached to it, that I could not commit.
okay, well,
But this
well,
is the
just
Capable Kids.
FYI, the city is paying for the Capable Kids.
I'm not involved with that part.
All right.
Mr. President, if I could,
Sir?
when Mr. Posadas first approached me, I didn't approach him, he approached me wanting to go ahead and help out. He went ahead and volunteered with at his capacity of what he can offer. And basically, what Mr. Posadas and I discussed and talked about was the layout of the Capable Kids and the equipment with a walk-around area with some lighting around the walk-around area and some picnic tables and a parking lot. It all encompassed at about 3.5 to 4 acres is what he was looking at as far as the pro bono layout of how it's all going to lay out with the infrastructure, where the drainage, the electrical, all of that. Now, that's a totally different than having a 3.5 acre commitment that Mr. Posadas said that he'd help out to do, to a 20 acre with baseball fields surrounding it with all kinds of other stuff. So just to be very clear on his commitment that he made to the kids and the organization was to help out to lay out in that form of plot of 3.5 to 4 acres. So And that is quite a commitment in helping us in putting it all together with cost assessments and stuff of that nature. When you go beyond the scope of that with additional things, there was no commitment that he made concerning that. It was just on the capable kids, and when I say just, I don't mean just, I mean the capable kids, the track around it, the kind of track, the width of the track, the lighting, and all that encompassed that area of that particular site.
By track,
Anything?
you mean the walking trail, correct?
Yes, I
Right.
apologize, yes.
Yeah, just so they
The
don't think
walking
we're
trail.
throwing a track
Yes,
out.
no, it's a walking trail, but it's a walking trail that's wide enough for individuals in wheelchairs to
Yes.
go back and forth, and also the material used on it would be feasible for wheelchairs to go on there. So he was looking into all the different possibilities, all the different kinds of materials having to do with that. So it's on a site, like I said, 3.5, 4 acres max, and encompassing all the infrastructure that went through that.
Yes.
Thanks for the clarification, Mr. Farias.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions or comments, gentlemen? Go ahead,
Yes,
Gilbert.
So I have one more regarding the actual contract. You say reasonable fee for the contract. Is the fee going to be based on actual construction costs, or is it going to be based on a budget? How is that going to, Mr. Trevino, how are you going to negotiate that contract?
Well, the initial estimate was given to us, and so we've been working with him and city engineering and public works, and we've been trying to whittle that cost estimate down to as much as we can. So hopefully we're down to that half of that price, that 1.8 to 900,000. So I would like to work on the actual
Actual construction costs?
construction cost.
Yeah, I think that would be better, especially when we don't know what the budget's going to be. We have a $1.8 million budget that was presented to us.
That's too much money. I just want to say that. That's too much.
Right, but
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
referring to the fee and what it's going to be based off. If it's going to be based off the budget, or if it's going to be based off of actual. I would prefer that we do actual, since the budget is not set and it's fluctuating back and forth. Just so it can be beneficial to both the engineer and the city, or the EDC in this case.
Yes,
Okay?
sir, we can do that, that's not a problem,
Suggested we do the same for the other two projects.
definitely.
There's no objection on our side for that.
Thank you, Mr. Posadas.
Thank you.
Go ahead and entertain a motion, gentlemen.
To approve negotiating with SDI Engineering.
Second?
I do have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Those opposed, same sign. That motion passes 4-1. Number 7, discuss and consider authorizing the executive director to enter into a memorandum of understanding between the EDC, Cameron County, South Texas College, Texas State Technical College, and Rates RGV for a water research training and lab service program. Go ahead, Mr. Trevino.
Mr. President, members of the board, if you recall, on December 18th, on our regular meeting, we had a presentation from the Rates RGV, Dr. Ernst. Did the presentation on, we were going to be doing this co-op program with Cameron County, STC, TSTC, and Edinburgh EDC, and they were going to provide some job training for water and wastewater resource certificate. There's a lot of demand right now, because there's some of our certified operators are retiring, so it's a good opportunity for us to start this program. So we're in the initial stages of this. There's still a business plan that needs to be done, and some grants that we're trying to get from Workforce Commission on this. So I brought this back to you to just authorize me to go ahead and sign this MOU with all these entities.
Questions or comments, gentlemen? Can I entertain a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second?
I do have a motion and a second. Those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. Those opposed, same sign. That motion passes 5-0. Number 8, discuss and consider possible action to update the EDC Corporation's employee organizational chart and compensation plan for fiscal year 2018-2019.
Mr. President, and members of the board, these all have to do with personnel issues, 8 and 9, and we're pretty much towards the end of our meeting, and I'd like to recommend we go into executive session, and then come out and go over these items.
Who put number 8 on the agenda?
I did.
You did?
Yes, sir. Want a new direction on our employees and staff.
Okay, can I entertain a motion to move number 8 and 9 into executive chambers?
So move.
Is that,
Is that what
Well,
we do
legal,
with Mr.
is that-
Vela?
Yes.
okay.
I do have a motion
Second.
and a second. Those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Those opposed, same sign. That motion passes 5-0. We'll discuss 8 and 9 behind closed doors and then come out. Can I entertain a motion to go, number 10, Executive Director's Report?
Members of the board, commission, real quick on our sales tax, again, we're doing really well, Mayor. You want to jot these down? This pay period, it's $2,482,748. As a-
Whoa,
Yeah.
too fast.
Say that again.
Vern's writing it down. She
Okay.
needs you to go slower.
$2,482,749.56. That was our net payment for this period, as a 16% increase over last year. At this time was $2,139,029.46. Year-to-date, we have years currently $4,256,317.79, a 12% increase from last year, $3,791,478.92. So an increase of 12.26, one of the highest in the valley. So our
Get
sales,
that?
our sales
You get
taxes
that, David
are
Diaz?
generating. We're doing well. Our employment figures are still well.
Are we still hiring at walk-ons?
Yes,
Mike?
the walk-ons are going successfully. Mike was there this weekend also. Mike, you want to give a quick report
I
on?
know they had over 150 jobs out there, Mike. How are they doing filling those spots?
Mike Valderas, we did have a job fair, big one. We made sure that we worked with the schedule of our community throughout the week. We had something during the workday. We had something during the week within the evening hours as well. And we also carried something out this weekend to accommodate our entire community. Been working closely with the general manager and the management team, the head cooks. Those positions are filling fast. Workforce has been helping us. We've partnered. It's been real good. So far, the 160 to 190 jobs, they're filling fast. And so it's definitely a good thing. There was also other job fairs in the area. Chick-fil-A, all those other places we're also having. So we've been bouncing around, making sure that we fill those jobs in our community.
Are these full-time jobs, Mr. Valdez?
There's full-time and part-time jobs available at
How many?
entry-level pay and managerial pay.
Do you know how many are full-time?
Offhand, no, they started automatically with about 8 managers, in the head staff, head cook in the front, in the back. And then from there, they started hiring their assistants, and they are hiring, again, like I said, part-time, full-time.
Are they still on schedule to open up in March?
We're looking at March, yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Good deal.
That's great. I always have ex-students reaching out, and it's easy when I say, hey, walk-ons is hiring 150 kids, get out there. And not just kids, everybody. Can I entertain a motion to go into executive session?
So move.
Second.
You have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Those opposed, same sign. That motion passes 5-0. We will enter into executive session. It is 12:34, Mr. Vela, and just for the record, Mr. Farias sat down at 12:05.
The EDC Board will now convene into executive session to deliberate under Section 551.071 551.072, 551.074, and 551.087 of the Texas Government Code, exceptions that government meetings being open.
Gonna go ahead and come out of executive. It's 2:24. Can I get a motion?
So move.
I do have a motion and a second to come out of executive. Those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Those opposed, same sign. That motion passes. We are out of executive. It is 2:24, Mr. Vela. You want to go ahead and,
Right, I believe, well, no action was taken on any of the matters that were moved into executive session or the items listed except for the evaluation of the executive director. Actually, it's item 9, discuss and consider possible action regarding the evaluation of the EEDC executive director, where the board actually went through an intense evaluation, documented areas of qualifications, duties, responsibilities of the executive director, and then met with him in there. So we are going to need some action on that. So we need a motion to move item 9 from closed session, executive session, back out to open.
can I entertain a motion on that?
I move to move item number 9 from executive to open session.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Those opposed, same sign. That motion carries. We can now discuss it out in the open.
I would like to make a motion, Mr. Chair, to leave everything as is on the contract, due to the fact that he's meeting the goals that we have right now and objectives. I would like to add a $5,000 increase on the salary. That's my motion.
Motion's on the floor. Motion and a second. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Those opposed, same sign. That motion passes 5-0. Joey, I just want to say real quick, we did have intense discussions back there, like Aaron was saying. And me personally, I'd just like to thank you for the job that you've done this past year. And as I took over the presidency after being on the board for a few months, and I've gotten to visit with you and get to know you more, and the business savvy that you bring to the table, I'm very impressed.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
One of the main things that always stands out is that last year when you took over, we were working on a $500,000 deficit, and now we're operating on a $900,000 surplus. So that in itself is a major accomplishment. So on behalf of myself and some of the citizens of Edinburgh, thank you for what you're doing here.
I appreciate it, Mr. President, and of course, this is all a team effort, starting with the board of directors and the direction you give me and staff, and we follow that to the T. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Gentlemen, anything else? Can I entertain a motion to dismiss?
Motion adjourned.
Second.
I have a motion to adjourn and a second. Those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Those opposed, same sign. We are now adjourned. The time is 2:27 p.m.
Thank you.